So yesterday we talked about omnipresence. Day one, we talked about relevancy. And today we're going to be talking about intimacy. And intimacy is sort of the element of being able to, yesterday and the last couple of days, I've been talking about energetic cords. Relevancy builds an energetic cord. Omnipresence allows for the energetic cord to be built, right? To be stronger. Intimacy allows for the energy transfer so that somebody can actually pay you and that you can actually help someone, right? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, and how to build intimacy inside the business, how to strategize this in a way that feels good to you, that feels good to a potential customer, and doesn't overbear you, doesn't make it feel like it's against your boundaries, doesn't make it so that you're kind of like for lack of a better word, a slave to your business. All right, so what is intimacy? Why is it so important? First part is, when we have, so let's go back to like when you're starting out in business. When you're starting out in business, generally before you have relevancy and omnipresence, intimacy is actually what makes it so that somebody's going to work with you, right? Because when we have somebody in front of us and that person feels like we actually hear them, we actually see them, we're actually empathetic with them, even if they're not necessarily relevant to us, even if they aren't like, you are exactly who I help. You've seen them a lot through omnipresence. A lot of time, that's how a lot of businesses actually become successful at the low six figures, mid six figures even. Actually, I have one client this morning that I was on the phone with, and she's at seven figures, maybe like $1.5 million a year. And the reason is because of intimacy, right? And I'm helping her realign her relevancy and omnipresence so that she can get to 3-4 million, because that's what's going to be needed in order to get to that next level. So intimacy allows us to be able to turn far more of the leads that we find that come towards us into actual customers. You don't need as many leads, right? You don't need as many people on your webinar. You don't need as many people in your group. You don't need as many energetic connections, because intimacy allows for this energetic cord to transfer energy through, right? So relevancy builds the cord, omnipresence strengthens the cord, intimacy allows the energy to exchange, right? Money for what it is that you actually help somebody with inside of their business or their life or whatever it is that you help them with, okay? And it also allows us to have the best of clients, right? Because when we feel connected to somebody else, generally there's a reciprocal of them feeling that way too. And so when we're having that intimacy back and forth, we have clients that come in and they don't even feel like clients. They end up becoming clients, and then later on they become friends or business partners or whatever it might be. Majority of my business partners, actually, I have a list of the 12 principles of investment that I use for my own life. And one of them is I only work with people that I've worked with in a mentorship or advisory capacity. I will only invest my money and time into entrepreneurs that I've known for at least 6 months. Right? And so majority of the people I end up working with, I end up actually partnering with or doing business with or investing in their businesses or ventures later on down the road. Right? And so it allows us to have these best of clients that we feel deeply connected with, which is really an advantage, because waking up every day and being excited to actually help the people that are on the opposite side of the camera or opposite side of the phone or in person, that allows for this feeling of being on purpose, allows for us to actually go beyond just, hey, I'm doing this for money, which is very related to a 9-to-5 job. And entrepreneurship is best kind of served in a way where you're doing it because you actually really love the people you're working with, which kind of goes to this third one. If you're kind of like if you don't have the 3 C's of intimacy that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, you're going to write a sales page and not really know if it's going to hit. You're going to have an offer and not really know if it's the right one. You're going to have an avatar. You might not know if you're positioned the right way. You're going to have a Facebook group and kind of feel like the energy's off, right? So there's always this, if you don't have this intimacy, you never really know who you're talking to, right? Because there's not this instantaneous feedback. It's also going to lower your cost. If you're looking at a marketing funnel perspective, it's going to lower your costs at the back end of your funnel. You're going to get more people into your programs. You're going to get more people in workshops. You're going to get more people around you when you have this intimacy, when you're having connection, community, and conversation, which are the 3 C's of intimacy, right? So it decreases your cost of being able to acquire a new customer. It decreases how much money you actually need to spend on delivery, because when somebody has that intimacy with you, they're going to give you feedback more quickly, right? And they're also, when you have intimacy inside of your business, inside of your marketing, inside of your sales, across your business, you are able to solve problems more quickly. And the people on the other side, your customers, are far more resilient in terms of change. right? So as you change, as you evolve, as you scale, there's more empathy because you had empathy with them. There's more empathy for you. And so you have customers that, generally are going to give you feedback and allow you to craft your business to be the best version, versus having a customer that feels kind of like left out, or they're here and they need to be here, and they don't see eye to eye with you, which is how refunds happen and how reputation decreases over time. So intimacy allows for this to happen. Right. I actually had a text this morning, and this person was in one of my programs in 2017, and through the transitionary time I had in 2017, he said, "Hey, listen, I know you were going through a lot in 2017, but I just want you to know that 2017, 2018, right, now, because I worked with you, I'm a multimillionaire today, but forget the money side. I am happy and fulfilled. I just wanted to thank you for that." Right. And so if there wasn't and I had a lot of intimacy with him, right? I had a lot of intimacy back and forth inside of the business, particularly back in 2017, 2018. And there was a lot going on in a very short amount of time. Thankfully, my life isn't as turbulent as it was back then. And that's what happens, right? Your customers have that kind of intimacy back and forth because, a lot of the time, entrepreneurship, our business is an extension of ourselves, right? So it lowers costs, allows you to have customers that are far more empathetic with you, and allows you to build a better business over time. And finally, it allows you, and I've talked about this in both day 1 and 2, and this is my whole book and the premise of my book that's coming out next year, allows you to skip the pitch, allows you not to have the pitch at all, allows you to be in this conversation where things feel more like an opportunity than an obligation, where we're not pitching. It feels like it's the right time and the right place to evolve something. Right? And this is really what intimacy does. It allows us to build alignment, which feels like opportunity, versus pitching, which feels like obligation. Now, the reason why pitching feels like obligation is because if you don't have relevancy, you don't have omnipresence, right? And you're just kind of selling, there's this pressure or this neediness that occurs from it. And so when we utilize intimacy and we're actually connecting with someone, we're actually listening to someone, we're actually being empathetic with someone, we're actually listening to what they're saying, and we're not just trying to go for the sale. We're not just trying to put them into an obligation. We're able to actually help them for where they are, right? And so by doing that, and when you have this intimacy of back and forth, when we do that, we stay away from pitching, which feels very wanty and needy. And it goes into alignment of, hey, is it aligned to be able to work together right now? Yay or nay? Yeah, awesome, cool. Let's see what that looks like for us. See if we can find some synergy between that. And so intimacy does a really, really good job at being able to highlight opportunities so that it doesn't feel like an obligation, because we want to run away. Our ego particularly wants to run away from obligation. We hate obligation. Obligation, responsibility, right? They're our superpower. If we embrace obligation and responsibility, they're our superpower, but our ego, we want to run away from it. And so when you're in a situation where you're trying to help someone transform, or you're trying to help someone see that they need your help, being able to be in this sort of obligation place, it's not very useful. We want to allow that person to see it from a positive, opportunity-focused way, okay? So when I discovered the ROI method and kind of started to solve the different pieces and put this together and saw how it worked in my life and other people's businesses, I quickly realized that intimacy without relevancy makes it so that people feel connected to you, but they won't value you enough to actually pay for your services or your help. Okay. Now, relevancy without intimacy makes it so that the person seems like, your customer, your potential customer is going to see you and they're like, wow, that's the person I want to work with. But you know what? I just don't feel like I'm going to get enough time and attention. I don't feel like this is going to be personalized enough. I don't feel like they really fully, they might get me and they might get my aunt, but I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Right? And on the opposite side, if you have intimacy and omnipresence, but you don't have relevancy, you're generally going to come across as like annoying and too much. Right? You're going to be everywhere, but the person doesn't actually understand why, right? Why it's relevant to them. And so they're going to tune out because it's too much for them, because you didn't first sort of see the relevancy. So this works in the fact that relevancy allows the person to understand that we're for them. Omnipresence allows for us to be able to build that connection stronger and stronger and stronger, allow them to see the pain, go through the SSF method, the sidewalk, slow lane, fast lane. And then finally, intimacy is that part that allows that person to actually say to themselves, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel connected. This is a community and a group of people I want to be with. I feel connected, right? And what we feel connected to, we move towards. Right? What we feel connected to, we move towards. What we don't feel connected to, we move away. Okay? So I go deep into this in my Skip the Pitch workshop, my 5-day Skip the Pitch workshop. And you can, if you don't have that already, you can go to, I think it's thenucleareffect.com/skip the pitch. And I think it's like $100 workshop. Or it's included with all my program. If you buy Modern Business Academy, you get all my programs. So it's included there too. So this is really the 4-step aligned selling process. And, I first came across this, I realized I did parts of it for a long time, but I came across this from one of my best friends, Jesse Elder. And we were at a mastermind. We just met, I think it was 2016. And I'm including a couple of bonuses where it's the actual audio from that event. I think it's the audio from that event where I got him to come and speak at my mastermind in 2017. And it's an audio. So it's actually from him versus just me, right? Always want to give credit where it's due. And this methodology really, really, really helped me realize over time that, selling, marketing and selling is a very spiritual experience of being able to help other people on their path of evolution, on their path of being able to transform, on their path of being able to get where they want to be to that next level. And what I found was this methodology of selling, no matter if it's on a webinar, whether it's in person, whether it's one-on-one, makes us that at the end, the person has to make some commitment. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're making a commitment to you, but they're either making a commitment, yes or no, to themselves and having clarity and understanding of the path ahead of them. Right? And so it really kind of goes like this. And I put some additional training because I would love to take the 30 minutes and go through how this actually works, but I've already recorded it before. So in the learning management system, if you're here live, then it'll be up tomorrow. Inside of there, it will have these extra bonuses so that you can kind of go through this and understand the selling. In our Modern Business Academy as well, we're actually doing training over, I think we're probably 2 weeks into this now, 2 or 3 weeks into this, but we're doing like a 90-day program, recorded program, all on skipping the pitch, all on selling. So that might be something as well that you can get in on if you do decide to work with us at some capacity in the near future. Right, so it comes down to these 4 parts, right? Pain, vision, gap, commitment. All right, so every single time that we have a conversation with anybody, right, intimacy starts when we're actually listening to where they are, right? Where they are, what they're experiencing, and being able to utilize as much as we can our heart instead of our head to be able to feel empathy with them, right? And so we may not, a lot of the time we may not have gone through exactly what that person's going through. A lot of the time we may have gone through it a long time ago. And I don't, and just full transparency, I don't remember what it's like to make, the last time I made $10,000 a month, I was 13. And so 17 years ago. Long time. I've been making 10 grand a month since I was a teenager. All right. Even when I was $1 million in debt, you can't stay $1 million in debt and not make at least 20 grand a month, or you're going to have to go bankrupt. Right. And so when somebody comes to me and they're really in that place, I'm like, okay, I have to really listen and get into my heart to feel the experience of what that feels like. Right. $10,000 a month. That's actually a lot of money for almost everybody on the planet. Right? But for me to be able to talk to somebody that's at that place and allow me to understand, okay, I know where they want to be, right? I know where they want to be. I know a version of where they want to be. And that's likely for your clients, right? We're generally working with people that we've gone through some experience of what it is, and we're living some version of the vision that they want. Or we're helping them with that. And sometimes we're even, helping ourselves get to that vision at the same time. So then we go to the vision. So then we're talking about the vision of where they actually want to be and allowing that person in that moment to actually dream. Now, here's the really interesting part is most people talk to less than 3 people in their entire life about their actual pains, and probably almost nobody about their vision, because most people, unfortunately, in their life have nobody around them that actually believes that they can be that much more than they actually are, right? And so the human mind isn't really great at exponential thinking. And so a lot of the time we have to help somebody, we have to aid somebody. When somebody comes to me and they say, hey, Scott, I want to go from 25,000 a month to 50,000 a month. Well, I had to aid them in realizing that it's just as easy to go from 25,000 a month to 100,000 a month. And I'm helping them actually dream. And I'm helping them actually understand that they have everything they have all the capacity in the world to be able to get there, right? I'm being the empowerment that they need in that moment, right? And we're listening because generally almost nobody else is going to. Their significant other probably don't believe that that's possible, right? Their significant other, if somebody's really working on something inside of themselves, their partner might not even realize, right? They may be afraid to share that with their partner. They might be afraid to share that with their friends or their parents, right? So allowing someone to see the vision for their life allows that person to actually, when we spit out what we really want in our life, that is the moment in which it starts. Right? Everything I have in my life, it started from me saying, I want that, right? I want that. And it's the gap in between this, which is what allows somebody to really understand their own level of, okay, this is how it happens. This is my route. This is how I go about this. Yes, it's going to take some time. Yes, it might be painful. Yes, I might need to do this. But this gap allows somebody to have the self-awareness, right? By allowing somebody to pay attention to the pain and the actual vision, we're able to allow somebody to have enough presence for that moment to bring awareness to what's actually required so that they have clarity and focus to be able to do it. Now, when somebody has clarity and focus of what actually needs to happen, generally what's going to end up happening is a commitment, right? Now, this isn't necessarily a commitment to you. When you're guiding someone through this, it just so happens that you may be the person to be able to help them. But in the commitment, what we're actually helping somebody have a commitment to is their life path, right? So when somebody comes to me, they say, hey, Scott, I really not making the amount of money I want to make. I've been in this business for 4 years. I feel like I have something that's really amazing. I'm working way too much and blah, 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 blah. And these 100K months that these clients have in your testimonial video, that's what I want. That's really what I want. And then when we work back and forth and say, okay, well, here's the 2, 3, 4 things I need to change. Right? Well, once that person's like, yeah, that resonates with me. I believe that. And through intimacy, you've brought and able to bring that person there, whether it's through email, whether it's through a phone call or text message. That person then has to say to themselves, in that moment, yes, I'm ready for that. I'm ready to actually go on this journey. And so they're ascending. Or they say, you know what, I'm withdrawing and I'm not ready for that. Right? And so most of the time, if we're bringing somebody to a conversation, okay, if we're bringing somebody to a sales conversation, and they're in the fast lane, they're somewhere between the slow lane and the fast lane right here. It is all about them committing to themselves about a new life path and their inner alignment, and almost nearly never about you, right? So this is why I tell people, don't get someone on the phone if they don't understand this stuff. If they don't understand the pain, if they don't understand the problem, if they don't understand the consequences, we don't want them on the phone, because now what we're trying to do is convince them that they got a problem. Right? If we got to convince somebody that there's a problem, it's the wrong person. Right? If we got to convince somebody that what we do is actually even effective. I had somebody had these, we moved a couple of years ago. And so of course it was a difficult time to move because we didn't know anybody where we live now. And so we went from LA, where we knew a lot of people, a lot of amazing people, a lot of amazing entrepreneurs. And we came up here, and then of course COVID happened 2 months later. And so then of course, at the beginning you were afraid to see anyone. Other people were as well. And so we had these people, over to our house that we met, and I felt, automatically this kind of like judgment about what I do from them, which happens, it does happen. And so, I can just imagine that person being on a sales call, me trying to get that person on a sales call, and me trying to convince them that I can mentor them, right? And so this guy is, he was 20 years older than me, never really seen any of my content or all this type of stuff, and so, highly skeptical. And I totally get it. I totally understand it. I had no judgment against it. I understand somebody having that perspective. But imagine getting that person on a phone call. We can't lead them through any type of spiritual practice of helping them if that's where they are. Same thing in the slow lane. If they come on and we got to bring them through, if I got somebody on a phone call, or I don't do phone calls anymore. I only do, really, Gianna takes care of most things these days. I got to bring them through my ROI method on the phone or via text. Can't do that. If I got to prove to them that I'm good at what I do and I value it, I have the best intentions for their life and for their business. Again, we've got an issue. I can't do that. Now I'm selling, right? Now I'm selling. I'm trying. When you're selling, you are proving. Anytime that you're proving, you're in your ego, you're in your mind. And anytime that you're proving, you're generally not in your power, right? Proving makes it so that you can't be in your power, right? Spent a lot, and I know this because I spent a lot of my life proving, right? I spent a lot of my life proving when, I had a lot of childhood trauma around proving, right? Some people, they're trying to prove to themselves some type, they're proving to their parents. I wasn't particularly a super popular kid when I was a kid. And so I used business as my, as a bigger kid and made a lot of fun of when I was a kid. Business allowed me to prove that I was worthy of being in the room and worthy of having a friend, right? That was my trauma around proving. And so I spent most of my 20s, most of my teenage years being an entrepreneur, most of my 20s, making money. This is probably why I went in debt, making money to be able to prove that, I'm the cool kid to be able to be at the party, or the cool kid, in the room, because I wanted that when I was a teenager, right? Well, I don't want to bring that into a sales conversation. I don't want to bring that proving in. And if we bring this into the sales conversation, right, we might need to revisit it for a minute to, make sure we have clarity of it. If I'm doing these things, I can't really bring someone to a commitment of their next life path. Right? But over here I can, right? If I get somebody on the phone, we get somebody in a text, we're in a situation and we can help somebody here. It's a whole different game because we can give them clarity about how we can actually help them once they actually have the commitment. Because once somebody gets to the commitment stage, they're generally going to be like, hey, you led me here. What do I do now? Right? So sometimes when that happens, I'm like, listen, I don't have anything for you, but let me introduce you to one of my friends, one of my clients, right? Or it might be, hey, listen, this is the best way I can help you. Do you want to hear more about it? They're like, yeah, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. And then right here allows us to really deeply help them build that vision for themselves. Most people don't have that many people around them to help them build vision. Most people, unfortunately, are around people that tear other people down, right? Not intentionally. They don't go around consciously trying to tear people down, but from their own wounding. The person you have on the phone, from their friends, their partner, their family, a lot of time tearing them down instead of seeing their highest version of themselves. Right? So a lot of them, you're the only person helping them with that. And finally, we're able to really help them with objections, whether they're to do with money or self-worth or their mindset or whatever it might be. But what the beauty of this is that when we bring people into the fast lane, this is why sidewalk, slow lane, and marketing is so important. We're going to talk about that tomorrow and the next day a lot. And this allows us to bring them through this process effortlessly, easily, and allow that person to commit to their life path. Now, at the end of that road, they may not say yes to you, right? You may not be the right person in alignment for them. At the end of that, you may lose the sale because you helped them get clarity. But my deepest truth after seeing this happen over and over and over again is that the energy that you've created through them will always come back to you. Whether or not that's a sale right there and then, or a referral from them, or something later down the road. But if you can have the long-term thinking and the integrity to self to know when and when not to actually bring a new customer into your world, I find the universe does a really great job of being able to take care of that, take care of the rest of that. Okay. And so this makes it so that at least at the end, they're making a commitment to either say, well, you know what, I'm going to commit to my current path. I'm cool with that. And that's fine. Like we don't have to, if somebody doesn't want to evolve at a certain point, they need to withdraw in order to be able to get enough energy, in their spirit and themselves to be able to go to, that's fine. That's totally cool. I have no judgment. We should never have any judgment, only love. Right? But it's better for someone to be fully committed to their path versus having one foot in the current and one foot into the future. And of course, the people that you're going to work with are the people that you're aligned, that are committing to that next stage. And of course, what happens, you get these amazing customers and clients when you do this. You don't have people that are going to refund. You don't have people that are going to not respect you. You're not going to have people that you got to convince to stay in your program or stay working with you. You're going to have people that actually get results, right? This is a large part of why a lot of the people that I work with get results very, very quickly, because they're committing to a new life path. They're not just committing to a program. They're not committing to, hey, I want to scale with Scott. I want to do that. They're committing to themselves, right? And a commitment to yourself is the strongest commitment. This is a really big thing inside of like working out, for example. If you do it for anybody, if you're going to go and work out because you feel obligated to, or you feel bad, or you feel you're not going to do it. If you want to build a business, you want to do it for X, Y, or Z reason. You want your parent to be proud, or whoever, whatever the situation is. There's never anything that's going to be deeper than the commitment to yourself, because you just know that that's your life path, and you want to be in integrity with yourself. Right? So that's what we want. That's what we always want to do. That's what we want to build. So let's talk about the 3 C's of intimacy that allow for this process to happen. Right? Because relevancy and omnipresence allows for that sidewalk and that slow lane for those people to be able to get that before they ever come to you, so that that person's ready to actually have that process, to actually be able to go to that moment of commitment. And so the 3 C's of intimacy are connection, community, and conversation. And we're going to go into these 3 now. Okay. So first is connection. The first part of connection is relevancy and being able to resonate with somebody. So relevancy and connection is we can't really be intimate with people that we don't really have relevancy with, that we don't really resonate with. And so it's really, really important inside of connection that this is why relevancy is so important. The entire section of relevancy is so important, because if we don't resonate with our avatar, if we're not positioned in a way that we feel empowered to ourselves, to that avatar, we're not really going to feel connected to them. And they're going to feel that, right? If we're just doing an avatar because it's like, I see this stuff all the time, or it's like, hey, this niche is real hot right now. You need to get into this niche. And I'm like, hey, do you care about those people? And people are like, oh, I don't care. It's a good niche to make money, right? I'm like, you ain't going to have a good time. Anytime you make money when you're not having a good time, the money vanishes. Always, 100% of the time, right? 100% of the time, the money vanishes. But when you have fun making the money, when you have fun, because you're not really making the money because you're trying to make money. You're making money because of the fact that what you actually do, you're actually enjoying what you do. You do amazing things with that money, right? So connection comes from, as well, authentic leadership of being yourself around everybody that you're around, right? That's not hiding who you are. That's not hiding the stories, the things that you might feel guilt behind. And so people have a hard time with this one. People have a hard time with authentic leadership, but it's the easiest way to be able to connect with someone, because somebody feels authenticity. Like it's a subconscious feeling that we feel it in our belly when somebody actually has that authenticity and that's actually stood up and said, I'm leading this. I'm doing this. I'm empowering other people to do this. Right? Because almost everything that, if you're here, more than likely, it doesn't matter if you're selling a service, it doesn't matter if you're selling coaching or consulting or information, you are empowering somebody to get further along their path. And so this requires a level of self-development and personal development. And the more you do, the more you do of that, the better a communicator you become. Right? The more authentic you are, the easier it is to be able to be on camera, the easier it is to email, the easier it is to create content, because you're not always self-editing. You're not self-censoring. I don't get here and I don't have any script, right? I never have a script. Right? I did one video series with a script, and it was the worst video series and the worst launch I ever did. Felt completely out of alignment. I'll never do that again, right? Because my superpower, and those people that allow connection to be their superpower, makes it so that the people that are in alignment with them work with them, and the people that aren't in alignment aren't. But of course, we want to be a people pleaser, right? We don't want to fully allow ourselves to shine. We don't want to fully allow ourselves to be seen. Connection also comes greatly from storytelling, which of course is a big element of relevancy, right? Allowing us to be able to share the stories that are, vulnerable to us, or even the ones that, we feel self-conscious telling. And I felt when I told the story a couple of minutes ago about me when I was a kid, like I still feel emotional about that experience. I'm glad it happened. And I don't have any harm against the people that did. I don't even remember who actually bullied. I only remember the emotion of it. Right? But there's emotion in that. There's emotion in our stories, and the stories that have emotion allow for somebody else to feel connected to us on that. Right? When I talk about a story of, we all have things that we want to experience in life. Right? Some of them are travel, some of them are relationships, some of them are, and one of mine's, my car. I had such a hard time buying my car. I could have bought my car since 2017. And I remember when I talked about this, I wrote an email about how difficult it is to accept that you can do the things that you want to do once you've created a level of success in your life. Upper limiting is a very, very difficult thing to overcome. Now, I got to tell you, that makes me sound from probably the majority of the population like a real idiot, Where I talked about, hey, listen, I could have bought the car for 3 years, but I didn't, because I didn't feel, I felt this and this and this and this and this. Even when I bought the car, it's really funny. I bought the car and it took me 6 months to get a license plate. And it's because I was feeling, even when I bought the car, feeling like the ownership of actually having the car felt overwhelming to me. Right? It felt overwhelming to me. I had, these stories that I really had to work through. Same thing happened when I bought this house. Right? And so me sharing that story that was vulnerable to me, like that felt like an edge to me. I was like, listen, I'm going to send this email. I'm going to get some serious hate mail from some folks. And I just had to be okay with that. But on the opposite side of that, people saw the story of upper limiting and saw that in their own life, and they deeply resonated with it. Right? So the stories that we know some people are not going to resonate with are the stories that allow us to deeply connect with somebody and allow that person to be like, well, I get them. They get me. And hey, Scott, I'm not a car girl. I'm not a car guy, but I get you. Right? I get you. And that's a powerful thing. That's a powerful thing, right? Next, in connection, and sometimes this can be overwhelming. Sometimes this can be really overwhelming. And so it requires this open attention around love, care, and empathy. And so a lot of the time, because there's so much going on in our life, we don't slow down enough when we get an intake form, when we have somebody message us, when we have a phone call. Right? One of the things when I used to do phone calls is that really worked for me to be able to connect a person is 5 minutes before I would do a little meditation and connect with them on that kind of like heart level. Like, let me look at their intake form. What are they experiencing today? What are they thinking today? What is the experience? And I would just really deeply feel that. It's what I do every single day coming here into this workshop. And I took a bath beforehand, completely submerged, kind of holding my breath. And one of my favorite ways to meditate. A great way to get present. And I was like, what is it today, the people that are watching? What do they need to feel today? Right? How do I deeply create connection today? Right? And so in intake forms, I get an intake form, and you just look at it, sometimes you're scrolling through it so fast. Or a Facebook comment or an Instagram comment, sometimes you're just doing it on autopilot. You're not being conscious of what you're actually doing, intentional what you're doing. but to deeply connect with what they're actually saying. Right? Sometimes you just look at, oh, how much money are they making? Or can they afford me? Can I help them? But before that, one of the questions I love, tell me your story in, a couple paragraphs, a couple sentences, right? And I really look at that. I'm like, oh, what is this person really saying to me? Yeah, they want to grow their business, but what is it really that's going on? And when we do that, we allow ourselves to come to this place of love, care, and empathy that allows people to feel so connected, which is, of course, one of the biggest parts of magnetization, is allowing that person to feel like we're the only person in the world for them. That they really, truly are understood. And so I added a video that I did a while ago about magnetization. I looked at it. I look like I was living in the mountains, but the content's great. I look like I've been up in the mountains for about 3 months, and I forgot my shaver. But it's a beautiful video on magnetization that really adds to this on this kind of quadrant that I built around magnetization. And so all these things allow for us to feel very connected to somebody. And when we feel connected, of course, we have to know, and this is why relevancy is important, because we can feel connected to people, but never ever want to do business with them. It happens to me all the time. I'm like, you know what? I want to hang out with you. I meet some people, I'm just like, I want to hang out with you. And that's great. But when we're building our business, we have to have that relevancy first. We've got to bring someone through that sidewalk slow lane. And then once we're in the fast lane with that connection, this is what allows someone to say, I don't really care what it costs. I'm going to figure it out. I know you're the person I want to work with. Right? That's connection. Next up, community. And community is actually, very, very important in the realm of intimacy, because it's a part of being connected. Right? So we're in this really interesting time where we're more connected than we've ever been, but we're more lonely than we've ever been, because this kind of like tribe mentality is sort of evaporated. Right? And so, human beings want tribes. Human beings want to be part of communities, part of a group of people that actually are like them, right? Especially if you're selling to entrepreneurs, or you're selling to a specific niche. Actually, every niche group, right? Every niche group. I'm a little bit of a gamer, so when I'm around gamers, I'm like, that's cool. That. I love being around entrepreneurs because we talk the same language. But there's lots of things that I'm not really into, right? So people want to be around others like them. And those that facilitate that conversation, those that facilitate that community building, that movement, that creates intimacy without even you necessarily having to create the intimacy. You basically saying, hey, here's this vision, right? Modern business account, my vision always of my communities, and I closed all my free communities up to this point. But in the past, it was, hey, listen, you're ready to scale a business. I want you to scale a business because I want you to have a great life. And my vision that's going to be kind of really revealed over the next coming months as we officially launch Modern Business Academy in September is, I understand that you're an entrepreneur, and I understand that you want to build a business and a life that's in alignment, in harmony and balance. And I believe that you can do that and you don't have to kill yourself to do it. Right? Building a business with intentionality and with focus and with clarity, and also building it in a way that utilizes these different levels of consciousness, so that you're not in willfulness every single day. Because if you're in willfulness every single day as an entrepreneur, you're definitely going to burn out, and you're definitely going to have resentment, and you're definitely not really going to wake up every morning being like, wow, I'm so glad I can actually do this. Right? So that's my why. Every single person that's an entrepreneur, you have your why. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing if you didn't have your why. You'd go work for somebody else. Right? And your vision can simply be, all right, your vision can simply be, hey, listen, number one, I'm taking care of myself, right? I'm getting myself right. And so on the way to your vision, it doesn't have to be this big ideos vision. It doesn't have to be, I'm up-leveling the planet's consciousness. It doesn't have to be, I'm making it so that there's no more poverty. It doesn't have to be these large things. It can be small but meaningful to the people that are in that place, that are with you, that you resonate. Community builds this massive amount of momentum and energy because of the fact that so kind of think about it this way. So if we're having energetic connections, let me just go over here and kind of look at this for a second. It's interesting. right? So let's say that you have all these community members, okay? And there's you, right? Well, through omnipresence and relevancy, we're able to have these energetic connections that kind of come back and forth, okay? But think about this. When community happens, this person connects with this person here, and then they connect with this person connects with this person connects with this person. And this entire energetic flow is automatically coming back to you because of it. So every single time that you connect somebody, you're having essentially a percentage of the energy that they are creating from themselves. You can see why this is so valuable, since everything, we talked about this yesterday, right? Money is energy, right? And there's no difference right here. This is why if you're going to build a business, you build a community along with your business. It's a major part of intimacy. It's also a major part of energetic flow. It also helps you with alignment and purpose, okay? So when you have it, when you're building a community and you're making your audience and you're actually intentionally, a lot of people are like, I don't see the need of building a community. And I'm like, I mean, okay, right? But your ability to wake up every morning, log into Facebook, log into Telegram, go on a webinar, whatever it might be, and be like, oh, wow, like these people get me. Like they get me, I get them. We're on the same journey together. Like, we're on the, like, I know that the people, like, if you're here listening to this right now, we're probably going to know each other for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Like, we're going to, the amount of relationships that are going to be built, the amount of change that our world's going to go through because we've been able to be introduced to each other is massive. And I want that same feeling with you and your customers. Because when we do, we start to see the larger picture. When we do, a lot of the time it's really hard for us to understand purpose because our purpose changes so often. Our purpose changes sometimes daily, right? But when I do these workshops, one of the reasons I do workshops live on a regular basis is because it's part of me feeling this purpose and alignment. Where I'm like, wow, I'm really getting to do some really cool work in the world. I'm really getting to impact a lot of amazing entrepreneurs' lives. Right? And that allows me to wake up feeling fulfillment and fun and excitement. Because our business our main job of our business isn't to give us fulfillment, but it does have a large piece in being able to build that fulfillment. And I think it's smart to build a business that has that intentionally built in. Right? So the first part is connection, the second part is community, and then the third part is conversation, which of course is where clients come from, right? Conversations equal clients. And so the more conversations you have, the more ability to be able to talk to people back and forth, right? The ability to actually hear someone, see someone, and give somebody presence, whether it's through DMs, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook or email or like this right here. The more conversations you have, no matter what level of intimacy, the faster you're able to actually turn that energy into actual customers. And so a lot of the time, what happens is our ego stops us from having conversations. Our ego stops us from saying, yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of time for that. I'm going to help someone in this way. A lot of us, we just want everybody to come to the webinar and, buy the $1,000 product from the webinar. And we get told this lie. Mostly it's a lie. We get told this lie. Hey, we can have this fully evergreen business and, it's going to make $1 million a month. And, I got to tell you, that's not true. Conversation doesn't matter if you're running a business at $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $1 million a month. Someone needs to be having conversations. It may not be you as you scale, but somebody has. I've been the mentor behind a lot of those businesses that are quote unquote evergreen. I guarantee you when there's not conversations, there's also not a lot of profitability. So it's great to make $10 million. It's not so great. I've been there before. It's not so great to spend $9.5 million to be able to make that $10 million. Okay. Conversations also allow you to get even more specific on your relevancy, right? Because when I'm talking to somebody, I can listen and be like, oh, I know how I'm relevant to them, right? In that exact moment, right? So I have my core relevancy. People see me as a mentor. People will see me as an advisor, an investor, like these different things that help other people scale their businesses, grow their businesses, build balance and harmony in their life through their business. But when I'm like, oh, that person's at $50,000 a month and they're doing this. Oh, I know exactly how to be relevant to them. Let me just have this conversation. the relevancy on top of being able to allow that person to be heard, seen, and have our presence makes it really easy to have that person say, you know what, I want to work with you. This makes sense. And this works, doesn't matter if it's outreach, doesn't matter if it's inbound, doesn't matter what level of marketing and sales you're doing. Conversation is a massive part of it. And even as you scale a business, your customer success people, your outreach people, your marketing, your sales people, all these different things, conversation is a massive part of how you turn conversations into clients and customers. So we're back to this graph. We visited here yesterday too. Intimacy is just another way to be able to utilize attention, right? So we have you here, and through connection, conversation, and community, all which takes energy of yours or somebody else's, we're able to utilize that energy to get the attention upon somebody, and that attention then is able to be converted into money, right? Through you helping them. All right. So some things I want you to be kind of thinking about, jotting down, journal style. Where can you increase intimacy in the business right now? Is it the fact that you're not actually direct messaging people because you feel like a little weird doing that? Is it the fact that when somebody sends opts into your email list, what if you did a personalized email, not just an automated sequence to them to be able to see how you can help them, right? When you do an intake form, and maybe it's the fact that you text them and get to know a little bit more about them before you actually get on a phone call. So you increase that intimacy, and these things, intimacy doesn't have to scale, right? As you scale, you learn ways to be able to include more and more intimacy, and it changes and evolves as you scale. How can you implement relevant intimacy? And what I mean by relevant intimacy is how can you utilize intimacy to become more and more relevant? And how can you, for example, you can utilize intimacy to get new partners. You can use intimacy to make paid advertising more effective for you. You can use intimacy for organic to be more effective, right? How? Every single person that likes, hey, I just want to check in with you. But not making it about the selling. Making it about actually, if you just literally, your next 10 conversations, you forgot about selling anything, and all you want to do is help somebody. How powerful would that be? How powerful would it be to not be there with the context of, well, I'm trying to sell some people some shit. And instead the context was, I'm trying to help some people with their shit. Massive change. When it comes to community, what flag is yours? Right? Community is about putting a flag in the sand and saying, this is what I'm about. This is the people I want to be around. This is a community that we're building that's important. So what does that look like? And finally, this is a big one around intimacy. What do I need to let go of? Right? So what does that mean, Scott? Well, what do you need to let go of to have intimacy with someone? What do you need to let go of from your ego? One of the things I always had a hard time with was I was like, well, particularly in 2018, 2019, I started to believe the hype about me. Bad thing to do. Can't ever believe the hype. You could swim in the Kool-Aid, but you can't get consumed by it. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to anyone anymore. I'm not going to have conversations with people anymore. I'm not going to connect as much anymore. I'm not going to tell what's on my heart anymore. It might be a let go of what boundaries you have, or the fact that you get overwhelmed by someone's energy, right? And so putting up energetic boundaries or utilizing energetic cord cutting and cord creation in conversations or messages. Might be the fact that you go so fast because you're used to this willful consciousness inside a business that you're not actually listening to someone. And so you can't actually be present with them. And because you're not present with them, they don't feel like they're heard or seen. And because they're not heard or seen, they're not going to work with you. Intimacy is about letting go of some of the mindset patterns and the things that no longer serve us and certainly don't serve our business. So what's next? Well, we've talked about relevancy. We talked about omnipresence. Talked about intimacy now. Tomorrow we're going to talk about funnels on how to actually build all this together. But I just want to recap real quick how this really works. Why are we relevant? We're relevant so that we understand who we are in the world. We're relevant so that other people understand who we are in the world. Once we understand that, and of course, this is a continually building process, right? This happens time over time, time after time after time after time. Well, then through omnipresence, we're wanting to be in front of people with that relevancy over and over and over, because that allows people to go from the sidewalk to the slow lane, from the slow lane to the fast lane, so that they can actually work with us. And intimacy is sort of this spiritual process of allowing somebody to feel connected to us so that they can take a commitment in their life and that we can ideally help them with that commitment. And that's the ROI method, right? That is the ROI method. Obviously, has a lot more depth than that, especially, I have a whole program specifically just on ROI. This is kind of the high level version to allow you to understand the strategy and how this impacts the business. And so tomorrow we're going to go into the funnel aspect of this. And finally on day 5, probably the most effective day there is, implementation. All right, everybody. Love you all. See you tomorrow. Bye.